Let's shift our focus to Afghanistan, where the Taliban's tight limitations have cramped the nation. The hardliners have deprived millions of Afghan women of their right to education, ousted tens of thousands of women from jobs, and banned women businesses and all sorts of activism. They have trampled on Afghan women today and forced them back into the dark ages. Last week, Taliban banned Afghan women employees of the United Nations from working throughout the country. In response to the decision, UN mission to Afghanistan launched a review of its operations and asked all Afghan staff, men and women, to not report to work until May 5th. A report. Women in Afghanistan are reeling under one of the worst phases in their lives. Since the Taliban group seized power in Afghanistan, the group have imposed a slew of restrictions, including banning women from universities and public spaces. Last week, the group issued an order to ban Afghan women employees of the United Nations from working throughout the country. In response to the decision, United Nations has asked some 3,000 staff, men and women, to stay at home until May 5th, while it made necessary consultations, made any required adjustments to its operations, and accelerated contingency planning.
We have a responsibility to our staff to keep them safe, right? I think it would be irresponsible for a UN manager to tell its female staff to say, you must go to work, you must report to the office, you must go out in the field, knowing very well it puts them at risk of arrest or detention. So the decisions taken are about staff safety, which is primordial. It does not mean that we are following or respecting or accepting the decisions that have been made. We are trying to find a solution moving forward, how we can do our work within our principles, respecting the Charter, respecting human rights, and also keeping staff safe.
The restriction on female UN employees follows a December ban on most female NGO workers, which drew widespread international condemnation. Some officials have expressed fear that donors may withdraw assistance for Afghanistan's largest humanitarian relief program, and that delivering some programs and reaching women in the conservative country would be impossible without female employees. Initially, the limits did not apply to the United Nations and several other international organizations. However, in January, UN Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed flagged concerns that authorities could next restrict Afghan women working at international organizations. A ban on Afghan female UN workers could pose major challenges to the continued UN operations in Afghanistan. The founding UN Charter states that no restrictions be placed on the eligibility of men and women to work for the UN.
This is putting us in a horrendous situation and putting, frankly, the Afghan people in a horrendous situation, because we have principles that we have to abide to, humanitarian principles on non-discrimination. We also have to abide by the de facto authorities themselves, also have to abide by the Charter in terms of letting us do our work. But we also have to help the millions and millions of Afghans. Almost 24 million Afghans need humanitarian assistance. So we are going to take this time to look at our programs, talk to the donors, continue the dialogue with the de facto authorities, and see how we can plan for the long term. Because we cannot. This is no way to run a railroad. To put it very glibly, policies are being announced, discriminatory policies. And we have to find a way to continue helping the Afghan people, especially the women and girls, while not violating our own humanitarian principles.
The recent Taliban ban on women working in international and national organizations and women moving about public spaces has also affected women being able to find employment. If less educated, they had a range of formal and informal jobs including working as housemaids, baking bread, washing clothes, cleaning bathrooms and babysitting, and in rural communities, rearing small livestock and growing wheat, maize and vegetables. Single women and widows have practically no way of earning money. On-the-ground reports reveal that many households are supported by women as male members of their family were either killed or injured in the ongoing conflict. It's difficult to estimate how long local communities, themselves struggling to survive, can keep women-led households and their families alive.